Time to get into some of the advanced features of the XVS system. Let's build some timelines, and we'll use the 3D DMEs to do that. 3D DMEs are a little different than the resizers and the keyers in that they're three-dimensional, Z-axis rotation, page turns, warps, and a lot of the modifiers, full modifiers we're used to in 3D DMEs. I can do that. I'm going to set up this on Program Preset Bus, and the first thing I want to do is attach a channel of DME to the keyer. Program Preset, Key 1, I attach DME Channel 1. I could then come up to my trackball module, have DME Channel 1, clear workspace buffer twice, actually clears out all modifiers and gets me back to a building position. I could then route the DME channel with the key row bus. So Key 1, Key row bus 1, VT5. When I bring in that key, I now have VT5 through the DME processing in that keyer. I can now move it down and see that I am in the DME. I'm going to bring it up full. Next step would be to come to my 10 keypad. Going to be Effect. And I'm going to go DME 1. I'm going to call up an empty register. 0 dot takes me back to 0 and takes me to the first open available register. In this case, it's register 6. Enter. And I now have a readout in any menu I'm in. Up here, I've got Effect 6, DME 1. Note 0 keyframes. If I want to go to my timeline menu, quickest way is always to hit that box. And you can see I've recalled a timeline on DME 1, number 6. 0 keyframes, I'm ready to build. The dual purpose of our utility Shotbox module is it can become an edit control module. On the end here, I have a button that says edit control. I turn that on, and you'll see all my parameters here for editing a timeline and keyframes are right here. Whatever I'm editing here is what I have delegated down on my 10 keypad. So these modules are now talking to each other. I turn on Edit Enable. And now I'm ready to insert keyframes, modify keyframes, and the like. I could do just a simple move as we move this into a little swoop. I could start by sizing it down, go to rotation, give myself some rotation, come back, take that off screen. That's my first keyframe, so I'm going to hit the Insert button. And you'll see I've inserted keyframe 1 of 1. Now bring this back down, come to here, rotate it on a turn that way. And now that is what I'm going to call keyframe 2. When I hit insert, I insert a keyframe after the keyframe that I was on, and it becomes keyframe 2. Now I want to bring this up full for keyframe 3. Easiest way to do that, I could try to bring it up like that, but if I hit clear workspace buffer once, I'm up full. Same parameters, insert, and I now have 3 keyframes. Now I can toggle between those 2 keyframes back and forth, or I can hit rewind and run that effect. And you see I have a very simple basic fly on swoop move. Now I can add other parameters to this quite easily. I can go down to keyframe 2, and you see on my timeline, it's telling me I'm on keyframe 2 of 3. And now I'm going to go to my DME menus. And you could see I could start up on the edge, and I have a whole bunch of parameters and modifiers that I could use for this. I'm going to go to straight border, turn on my border, and give myself some width. And when I go to flat color, I can touch luminance, and I can say I've got a blue border. If I wanted to take that and see what it looked like, I can do an all mod, and I've modified that to all keyframes. So if I were to rewind this and run it, you could see now I've added that border. Let's go back to keyframe 2. Just hit previous keyframe. I'm going to add another layer of modifiers. I'm going to add a beveled edge on top of that. Turn that on. Got some light underneath. I'm going to go with color. I don't want to cover that blue totally. I want a little bit of that blue hint underneath my beveled edge. So you can see that, and I've got kind of a dual border going. I can do an all mod, and again, run that effect. And you can see I've got that coming up. Now when I'm up full, I don't want to see those borders. So again, now instead of doing an all mod where I modified all the keyframes, I'm just going to do a single modification for just this keyframe, keyframe 3. You can see I'm on keyframe 3. I can go to beveled edge, and I can just take that all width down to 0. And then I go back to my border menu, highlight that border, and I could default recall also all and get rid of that. Now I just want to modify only this keyframe. So when I hit the modify button, it only modifies the keyframe I'm on. I could now rewind this, And again, my simple swoop move comes in with, and the border widths out from keyframe 2 and comes up to be full and clean. Now, I could take that simple effect that I've created, I could hit store, it's at number 6, I hit enter, the E for empty goes away because effect 6 is no longer empty, and I've created a timeline. Go to my keyframe timeline menu, and you can see that run as I hit that button. Now that I've made a simple single channel effect, I'm going to add a second channel of 3D DME to the keyer. Remember, 4 channels of 3D DME can go into any one keyer. As soon as I do that, I turn on a combiner. So again, let me go up and clear out this effect. I'm going to clear out both channels 1 and 2. Double punch clear workspace buffer. I'm going to add a second channel to my keyer on my key control module. And then I'm going to come down to my 10 keypad, activate a second channel, and now I'm going to recall an empty register. Let's go to number 8. And you can see now I recalled that on DME 1 and DME 2. Now I should see a combined. If I push these back, I should be able to see channel 2 behind channel 1. And you see I have 2 channels now. Let's bring those back up full, squeeze them down so they're the same size. And I want to talk about the combiner a little. As soon as that second channel goes in that combiner, I can go to my global effects menu, and you can see I have a combiner turned on. 1 is over 2, which is what we saw. Let's bring a 2 up a little bit. And if I go to mix, you can see a mix of 0, 1 is over 2, and as I mix those in a keyframe format or not, I'm moving the priority so that 2 is over 1. Okay? Let's talk about how I'm routing that second channel for just a minute. The first channel, channel 1, the sunset, is the key row bus of the keyer I've assigned it to. The second channel, when I have it in that same keyer, is I hold down utility and I'm going to route it with the DME external. I go to route 1, which routes the DME again, and I can change that source to be what I want. Okay? I'm going to leave it as the basketball game behind there. Highlight both channels again, clear them out, and make them the same size. Another feature of the combiner is the depth mode. In the depth mode, I'm actually able to take one channel and fly it through the other. So if I were to just go to channel 2 and hit the x-axis, I could rotate this so that it goes right through the x. And if I go negative 0.25, I've actually rotated it so we don't see it anymore. If I do this, and I could rotate both now, you could see that I can then appear to have sliced right through either channel to go right through. I could create a two channel effect the exact same way that I created the single channel. I could say, well, let's make that our first keyframe. And I'm going to come back down to my keypad, turn off the x-axis. I have both channels, and I'm going to look at my timeline, insert a keyframe. Then I'm going to spin these a couple ways more, maybe on the Z also, and I'm going to call that keyframe 2. All right, now maybe when I want it to break up a little bit, and I can say, channel 1, I'm going to have you move down and out, and channel other one go up, and insert a third keyframe. I have no idea what's going to happen here, but let's see. As I used to tell everybody, I'm pretty good at making things you'll never really want to see. But that also shows you the combiner on that. Got a pre-made effect that we did here. I'm going to take both channels out and clear them both out. Turn off my key 5 here and go back to my XVS logo. I want to show you trajectories. We just saw those spinning channels going round and round and then flying apart and coming off. When on my original effect you saw a swoop coming in. How do those movements change and do that? For that, I do have a pre-made effect done. Let's go to ME3. And you can see here I've got 4 channels of 3D DME in keyer 1. Okay? If we run this effect, you're going to see different types of movement with those channels. You can see I've got 4 different sources. I've got a background, 1 channel that's the background, and 3 channels with boxes that fly. What you notice there is if I stay in my keyframe menu, if I go to the path menu, path is trajectory or movement style. I'm going to go to DME 3D Translocal. And here I have, you can see a very linear movement programmed into this effect. Let's go back to my keyframe edit because, again, I did call up a timeline. I called up a timeline on all 4 channels. Go back to path, 3D. Watch this one more time in linear movement. You could see that as they hit their keyframes, they hit and kind of bounce to go to the next keyframe, but they do a definite stop on each keyframe. Let's go and see what we can do with a S-curve trajectory. And again, I'm just doing all mod of all the keyframes. Rewind this. And now you can see instead of that bump when I hit a keyframe, it actually slows down and hits it in a much softer way and then goes to the next keyframe. But it still hits the keyframe. It still takes the parameters that I've told it to go to. It just doesn't go boom. It goes nice and smooth. Let's see one more. The other choice we have is a spline movement. A spline is really going to give us some 3D swoop. It doesn't have to hit the actual parameters of the keyframe. It can actually go around them. And if I do an all mod, let's see how this effect looks this way. Because this is how this effect was really meant to look the first time it was made. How they can swoop around like that. Let's look at one more time. And it just is a prettier movement as we go in between all these keyframes in the spline curve. So there's a little example of the different paths, how your movement's going to go when you build a 3D DME timeline. Or for that matter, any timeline. We'll be able to have path movements and different things like that. You can have linear, step, linear, S-curve, or spline. Step is really simple. Step is, it jumps to the keyframes. Watch this. Boom, 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 boom. You can just have different ways you want to go. Let's go all the way back to spline again. I think that looks the best, and come back and rewind it. So there's a good example of 3D DMEs, putting into the keyer, letting your operator use his imagination, create different effects, different transitions. We have another way to use the 3D DMEs, and that is what we call DME wipes. They're down on your transition module, and this is really kind of one of the easier, simpler ways to fancy up a show. You can always do a mix. We've always been able to do a wipe on the program bus. We have what we call DME wipes. If you have channels of 3D DME, you'll be able to use DME wipes. If I double punch that button, it does take me to some pre-programmed wipes that I can choose from. They come with the system. The other thing I want you to notice is when I activated DME wipe, it grabbed the first available channel of 3D DME automatically for me. If I turn that off, you can see here that the DME channel goes away. If I happen to have DME channel 1 in ME3 key 1, and I had it assigned to this keyer, when I activate on the program preset bus, the DME wipe, it grabs channel 2, first available open channel, okay? So let's go back here, grab channel 1 again, and I have some pre-programmed moves. If you look here, these come with the system. This is slide and squeezes for 1 channel. And if I scroll down, I have a infinity grow. And you can see that I've just grown that down. I'm running in reverse. That's why it went back down. I go to normal, and you can see it fly in that way, okay? I can go to any source on the switcher that I want. The DME wipe, it's not worried about that. It's just a transition on the AB bus, but I'm processing it through a DME channel, and I can use that effect. Hit auto trans and do the same thing. I can actually have modifiers on this effect, even though it's pre-programmed and it comes from infinity. I can pull it up halfway and hit modify, and I can modify the position that it comes from. So I can move that over to one side and maybe down low, and you'll see as I bring it back down, now it's coming from that corner. That modification I would like to save. Easy enough to save. I just come over to my FlexiPad for the program preset bus, and just like in the wipe snapshots, I have 10 DME wipe snapshots. I can store that DME wipe in number 1, and that will remember my modifiers. So I've got it coming there. I could turn off position here on the modification so that it's coming center again, right? Or I can recall that snapshot and it remembers those modifiers and comes full for me. DME wipes are very powerful. And in my opinion, they're really an easy way to fancy up the show for young operators or what, because it's just like doing a mix or a wipe. They're all used to that. You just do it with the DMEs. We can also make 2-channel DME wipe effects. If I go to 2-channel here, I like picture in picture. You can see now I have a couple choices here. there's two boxes there. And behind that, it says U2. That means I'm actually going to see the utility 2 bus. And I'm going to choose that as a source. Now look, it took 2 channels automatically for me. And if I move my fader bar and move these back, you can see I have black behind 2 boxes. That's the utility 2 bus. I'm going to hold down the utility button on my Crosspoint module, and I'm going to route frame memory 7 right behind there. Really, a couple things to notice here with a 2-channel 3D DME wipe effect is I actually have 3 layers on the screen in front of me using 2 channels of DME. If you look here, I haven't used a keyer yet. So I have a lot of layers that can be built here and a lot of power. The reason I like to show the 2 box here is that I can modify the size and the position, okay? I can come in and say, I'm going to highlight both channels, go to position, and I can move them both. All right, I'm going to put the top one up there, and then I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to move the bottom one. I can do the size. I can make that one bigger, and I can go to channel 1 and do size. Make it bigger. I can actually highlight both channels for that and do a crop if I wanted to. Cropping both channels together. So again, they're uniform. The beautiful thing also is these are meant to be transitions between the A-B bus. So my right box is routed by my A bus. My left box is routed by the B bus. Very easy to route. I didn't have to assign DME channels. I didn't have to key the DME channels, and I didn't have to route them until I set it up. I could easily store this as a DME wipe snapshot, number 3, or I can then come down and make it a whole ME snapshot. We'll make that snapshot number 9. So as I move that down, when I come back, I can easily recall snapshot number 9, and I've recalled my effect. So another way to use the 3D DMEs is with the DME wipe function. Let's go back out of here, and I've released my channels. If we look into my single channel DME wipe menus, there are a few other menus here. I could do flips and tumbles, and this is just single channel as I choose. And there's a flip and tumble between 2 things. Let's go between these 2. And you can see I'm seeing my utility 2 bus underneath there. So I've kind of got 3 layers going. Just a couple different examples of a ball bouncing in. These are all pre-programmed for you, okay? You can go through these and take a look if you want. The other one I want to show is the tab called User Program. You can actually create your own 3D DME wipes and bring them in and execute them through the DME wipe function. Let's take you through those steps. If you look at the DME wipe user assigned, the numbers are 101, 102, 103, 104. That's actually a DME effect register that I can build in and then recall up through here. So again, I'm going to build the same way. I'm going to come down to my 10 keypad and highlight effect DME 1, and I'm going to build 102. We called an empty register, as you can see here. I'm now going to assign that DME channel to a keyer, program preset, key 1, and I assigned it there. Come up and normal it out on the DME side, and then turn on the key. And there you see I have VT5 coming in. Then I go to my DME menus. I have an idea. I'm going to do a very simple basic 2 keyframe move that I'm going to put into the DME wipe. First thing I'm going to do is come down to do video modify. I know I'm going to do some defocus here, so I'm going to turn that on. And now I'm going to grow this full, as big as I can, defocus it. I like to say 25. And then I'm going to go down to my input-output menu, and I'm actually able there to turn on key density, which is the density of the key. Bring it up a little bit. It's at 100. I'm going to take it down to 0. And you can see I've just dissolved it away. That is going to be my first keyframe. So I'm going to insert a keyframe. One thing to show you here is up here, I always get my parameters of my timeline. So I have the information. I don't have to go to the timeline. I know I'm building effect 102, and I know I have 1 keyframe now in there. Okay. Now I'm going to bring this down. The best way to bring this back up is say density to 100. hit Clear Workspace Buffer once to bring it regular size, and go back to my defocus menu and go to defocus all. I'm going to take that back to my defaults, which is 0, and that's my second keyframe. So you see here now I have 2 keyframes built in 102. So I'm going to rewind that, and you can see I've built an effect that kind of just an on-grow, and I could actually run that in reverse so it flies off on me like that. Let's go there. I'm going to rewind that, and I'm going to store that at 102. Okay? So I've built a DME effect with the 3D DME and a keyer using my timeline. Now I'm going to take that and lose that DME out of the key. I'm going to call up another effect, lose that out of the key, turn my key off. Because remember, on the DME wipes, I don't have to turn a key on. And it's going to grab a channel as soon as I want. Let me take channel 1 of the 3D DME. And again, I'm going to put it up on ME3, key 1. I'm going to assign it there. I built this effect, number 102, using channel 1 of the DME. It's now going to play using channel 2. So if I come back down to my program preset bus and I go to DME wipes, double punch, I come to user program, and there's number 102. That's the one I just built. I'm going to go there and I'm going to run it in reverse. I have some crops turned on. So again, my modifiers for DME wipes, I'm going to go to modifier, and I'm just going to turn that crop off. And there's my effect that I built. Running through the DME wipe processor, no keys turned on, actually grab DME channel 2. Even though I built it with channel 1, I could run it with any channel I want because DME wipes will always grab the first available channel to it. I can now take that, go to my DME wipe snapshots, and store it. So now very easily I can do a mix on program, could do a wipe, and I can come back and go DME wipes, and I have that choice. Then I can preset something else, and I could choose another DME wipe, bring that full, preset my next source, and go back to my original 102. So very powerful DME channels. You can do them on timelines, 4 channels into any one keyer, build 4 channels on a timeline, or DME wipes, where you could do up to 3 channels of DME, but it's non-channel specific, and you could build your own.